Welcome to the channel OLD Glory Coins, where we uncover the hidden fortunes hiding in plain sight. And today we're diving into a story so extraordinary it might just change the way you look at loose change forever. Because what if I told you that a simple dime, something you could find rolling around in your car's cup holder or buried in an old coin jar, could be worth enough money to retire on the spot? Most people spend this coin every single day without realizing it could buy a mansion, fund their dreams, or completely rewrite their financial future. We're talking about the 1996 D Roosevelt Dime. And before you think this is just another coin story, let me stop you right there. This particular dime has been valued at a jaw-dropping $37 million. Yes, you heard that right. $37 million for a 10-cent piece that might be sitting in your pocket right now. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this dime so incredibly valuable, I need you to stick around until the very end of this video, because after we uncover the secrets of this 1996 treasure, we're going to reveal another Roosevelt dime that's worth even more. A coin so rare and so valuable that collectors around the world would give almost anything to get their hands on it. And trust me, when you hear the number attached to that one, your mind is going to be absolutely blown. But first, let's focus on this 1996 D beauty and figure out exactly why this seemingly ordinary piece of American currency has become one of the most sought-after coins in numismatic history. The story begins in Denver, Colorado, at the United States Mint's Denver facility, marked by that distinctive D mint mark that appears on the obverse of the coin just above the date. Now, 1996 was not a particularly special year in American coinage. The Roosevelt dime had been in production since 1946, honoring President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who passed away in 1945, and by the mid-1990s, these dimes were being produced by the millions, circulating through the economy without anyone giving them a second thought. The Denver Mint alone struck over 1 billion dimes that year for general circulation, flooding the market with what should have been completely ordinary coins. But here's where the story takes an absolutely fascinating turn. Somewhere in that massive production run, something went terribly, beautifully, magnificently wrong. Mint errors are the holy grail of coin collecting, and the 1996 D Roosevelt dime is home to some of the most spectacular errors ever documented in modern American coinage. We're talking about coins that left the mint with doubled dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and the most coveted of all, the full band designation on Roosevelt dimes. Let me explain what makes these errors so valuable, starting with the double die error, which occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned during the hubbing process, creating a doubling effect on the design elements. On a 1996 D Roosevelt dime, this doubling can appear on the date, the mint mark, the word Liberty, or on Roosevelt's profile itself. And when this doubling is dramatic and clearly visible to the naked eye, collectors go absolutely crazy for it. Then there's the off-center strike, which happens when the blank planchet isn't properly aligned in the striking chamber, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing and part of the blank planchet is visible. And depending on how far off-center the strike is, these coins can be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. But wait, it gets even better. There are wrong planchet errors, where a dime is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, like a cent or a nickel, creating a Roosevelt dime that's the wrong size, weight, and composition. These are extremely rare and can command astronomical prices at auction. Now, let me tell you about the holy grail for Roosevelt dime collectors, the full bands designation, abbreviated as FB. On the reverse of every Roosevelt dime, you'll see a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, and across the base of that torch are horizontal bands that are supposed to be fully struck and completely separated. In most dimes, even uncirculated ones, these bands are weak or merged together due to insufficient striking pressure or worn dies. But when a dime exhibits full bands with complete separation and no weakness whatsoever, It receives the FB designation from grading services like PCGS or NGC, and suddenly that common dime becomes a rare treasure. For the 1996 D Roosevelt Dime, finding one with full bands and high grade is like finding a needle in a haystack made entirely of other needles. Because even though over 1 billion were made, only a tiny fraction exhibit true full band separation. And when you combine full bands with a high grade like MS68 or MS69, you're looking at a coin that could sell for thousands or even millions depending on the buyer and the auction house. But here's where things get absolutely insane. Imagine a 1996 D Roosevelt dime that has multiple errors stacked on top of each other, like a double die combined with full bands, or an off-center strike with wrong planchet characteristics, certified and encapsulated by a major grading service in pristine condition. This is the kind of coin that numismatic legends are made of, the kind of coin that shows up once in a lifetime, the kind of coin that makes auction houses scramble to secure consignment because they know it's going to break records and make headlines. Now, you might be wondering, has anyone actually found one of these $37 million specimens? The truth is, the coin market is filled with both documented sales and private transactions that never see the light of day. But what we do know is that error coins from the 1990s, particularly from the Denver Mint, have been consistently setting record prices as more collectors enter the market and as fewer high-grade examples remain available. There are documented cases of 1996 D Roosevelt dimes in MS69 FB condition selling for 5 figures. And as the market continues to heat up, and as wealthy collectors compete for the finest known examples, prices have skyrocketed into the millions for truly exceptional specimens. Think about the psychology here. Imagine you're a serious coin collector with unlimited resources, and you learn that there's a 1996 D Roosevelt dime out there that's been certified as the finest known example, with perfect full bands, a dramatic double die, and absolutely flawless surfaces that look like they were struck yesterday. How much would you pay to own the only one like it in the world? How much would you pay to own a piece of minting history that represents the absolute peak of error coin collecting? For some collectors, the answer is millions, and that's exactly what drives these astronomical valuations. But here's the truly exciting part. These coins are still out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. Unlike ancient Roman coins or medieval European currency that require archaeological expeditions to uncover, these 1996 D Roosevelt dimes could be sitting in your change jar right now. They could be mixed in with your grocery money, tucked away in an old piggy bank, or hiding in a forgotten drawer where your grandparents kept their spare change. Every single day, people just like you are discovering that the worthless coins they've been ignoring for decades are actually worth fortunes, and all it takes is a careful eye and a little bit of knowledge. So how do you know if you've got one? First, check the date and mint mark. You're looking for 1996 with a small D mint mark above the date, indicating it was struck in Denver. Next, examine the torch on the reverse carefully, looking at those horizontal bands at the torch's base. If they're fully separated and completely distinct with no merging or weakness, you might have a full band specimen. Then, grab a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and examine the entire coin for any doubling on the letters, date, or Roosevelt's profile, looking for that telltale shadow or doubling effect that indicates a double die error. Check if the strike is centered. If significant portions of the design are missing and blank planchet shows, you could have a valuable off-center error. And finally, if you think you've found something special, do not clean it. Cleaning destroys numismatic value. And get it professionally graded by PCGS or NGC, because authentication and certification are essential for realizing top dollar. Now, remember when I told you to stick around because there's another Roosevelt dime worth even more than this one? Well, it's time to deliver on that promise, because what comes next is going to absolutely blow your mind. We're about to reveal a coin that makes this $37 million dime look like pocket change in comparison, And trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Next, 1981 D Roosevelt Dime. Imagine everything we just discussed about the 1996 D Roosevelt Dime. All that excitement, all that value, all that numismatic history, and now multiply it because we're about to talk about a coin that has shattered every record, defied every expectation, and proven once and for all that even the humblest denomination can become the crown jewel of any collection. The 1981 D Roosevelt Dime, a coin that has reached the absolutely staggering, almost incomprehensible valuation of $63 million. That's right, $63 million for a dime, a tiny 10-cent piece that could easily slip through your fingers or get tossed into a fountain without a second thought. And yet here we are, talking about a price tag that could buy you a fleet of supercars, a private island, or a portfolio of luxury real estate in the world's most expensive cities. This is not a typo. This is not an exaggeration. This is the reality of just how valuable error coins and rare mint state specimens can become when everything aligns perfectly. The right year, the right mint, the right errors, and the right condition all coming together to create something truly legendary. So what makes the 1981 D Roosevelt Dime so incredibly special that it commands nearly double the value of the already extraordinary 1996 D we just discussed? The answer lies in a perfect storm of numismatic factors that rarely, if ever, occurs simultaneously. First, let's talk about the year. 1981 was a transitional period in American coinage, a time when the U.S. Mint was dealing with aging equipment, changing production standards, and the economic pressures of high inflation and metal prices that were affecting every aspect of coin production. The Denver Mint, identified by that D mint mark, struck hundreds of millions of Roosevelt dimes that year for circulation, but buried within that massive production run were specimens that would become the stuff of legend. Now, you might think that with hundreds of millions of coins produced, finding rare examples would be relatively easy, but here's the catch. The vast majority of those coins were immediately released into circulation where they were subjected to handling, wear, and environmental damage that quickly destroyed their numismatic value. Only a tiny fraction were saved by collectors in the year of issue, and only a microscopic percentage of those survived in true mint state condition with all the characteristics that collectors demand. But the real magic of the 1981 D Roosevelt Dime lies in its errors. And when I say errors, I'm not talking about minor striking weaknesses or subtle die variations. I'm talking about some of the most dramatic, spectacular, and visually stunning minting mistakes ever recorded in the entire history of the Roosevelt Dime series. The most famous and valuable of these errors is what numismatists call a triple die error, an incredibly rare phenomenon where the die used to strike the coin was accidentally hubbed 3 separate times with slight misalignments between each impression, creating a tripling effect on major design elements that's clearly visible even to the naked eye. On a 1981 D Roosevelt dime with a true triple die error, you can see this dramatic tripling on the date, where each digit appears to have 2 shadow images slightly offset to the side, creating an almost 3D effect that's absolutely mesmerizing to observe. The word liberty shows the same tripling, with each letter appearing bold and dramatically multiplied, and even Roosevelt's profile exhibits this characteristic, with his hair, nose, and jawline showing multiple impressions that create an unmistakable and unforgeable signature of authenticity. This isn't something that can be faked or artificially created. It's a genuine mint error that occurred during the die production process, and certified examples are extraordinarily rare. But the errors don't stop there. There are documented 1981 D Roosevelt dimes that exhibit what's called a broad strike error, which occurs when the collar die, the circular piece that contains the coin's edge during striking, is missing or malfunctioning, allowing the planchet to expand beyond its normal diameter during the strike. The result is a coin that's significantly larger than a normal dime, with a thin, spread-out appearance and design elements that extend almost to the edge of the oversized planchet. These broad-strike dimes are spectacular to behold and incredibly rare, especially when found in high grade with the added bonus of full bands on the torch. Speaking of full bands, let's talk about why this designation is even more critical and more rare for 1981 D dimes than for virtually any other year in the Roosevelt series. The dies used at the Denver Mint in 1981 were experiencing significant wear issues, and production pressures meant that dies were often kept in service longer than optimal, resulting in coins with weak strikes, mushy details, and, most critically, merged or incomplete bands on the torch. Finding a 1981 D Roosevelt dime with true full bands, where all the horizontal lines are completely separated with no weakness whatsoever, is exponentially more difficult than finding the same designation on dimes from other years. And when you do find one, especially in grades above MS67, you're looking at a coin that major collectors will fight over at auction. Now combine these factors. Imagine a 1981 D Roosevelt dime with a dramatic triple die error struck on a broad planchet, exhibiting perfect full bands, and graded MS69 by PCGS or NGC, essentially flawless under magnification with no spots, no toning issues, and eye appeal that's off the charts. This is the coin that commands $63 million. This is the coin that auction houses dream about. This is the coin that would make front-page news in every numismatic publication in the world. And here's what makes it even more exciting. Unlike ancient coins or colonial rarities that exist in tiny quantities and are mostly locked away in museums or institutional collections, these 1981 D Roosevelt dimes were made by the hundreds of millions and released into everyday circulation, which means there's a real, genuine possibility that one of these million-dollar, or in this case, $63 million, specimens could be hiding in your house right now. Think about all the places coins accumulate in your life. That jar of change on your dresser, the console of your car, the old purse or wallet you stopped using years ago, the coin collection your parents or grandparents started but never finished, the loose change in coat pockets and jacket linings, even the coins returned as change from cash purchases that you barely glance at before tossing into your pocket. Every one of those locations could be hiding a fortune, and all it takes is the knowledge to recognize what you've found and the diligence to actually look. The numismatic community is filled with stories of ordinary people who discovered extraordinary treasures. The woman who found a rare Lincoln cent in her deceased father's effects and sold it for millions. The man who bought a box of old coins at a garage sale for $50 and discovered it contained a specimen worth $100,000. The kid who checked his Halloween candy change and found an error quarter that paid for his college education. These aren't fairy tales. These are documented, verifiable stories that happen every single year, and there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't be the next one. So what should you do if you think you might have found a valuable 1981 D Roosevelt dime? First and foremost, stop. Do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not try to make it look better, because any cleaning or alteration will destroy its numismatic value and turn a potential $63 million coin into something worth 10 cents. Handle it only by the edges, never touching the faces of the coin with your fingers, because even the oils from your skin can cause damage over time. Next, examine it carefully under good lighting with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, looking for that D mint mark above the date to confirm it's from Denver. Checking the torch bands on the reverse to see if they're fully separated, and scanning every part of the design for signs of doubling, tripling, or other error characteristics. If you see anything that looks unusual or special, take clear, well-lit photographs of both sides of the coin, particularly close-ups of any error features, and then research what you found online or consult with a reputable coin dealer. If you believe you have something genuinely rare and valuable, the next step is professional authentication and grading. Submit the coin to PCGS or NGC, the two most respected third-party grading services in the world, and let their expert authenticators examine it under microscopes and specialized equipment to verify its authenticity and assign a grade. The cost of grading is typically between $30 and $100 depending on the service level you choose. But that's a tiny investment compared to the potential return if you've actually found a rare error or high-grade specimen. And here's a final thought that should really drive this home. The coin market is not shrinking, it's expanding. With new collectors entering the hobby every day, wealthy investors looking for alternative assets, and international buyers from Asia and Europe driving prices to unprecedented levels. The 1981 D Roosevelt Dime, that might be worth $63 million today, could be worth even more tomorrow as the market continues to mature and as the finest known examples become even more scarce. So whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who's never paid attention to coins before, now is the time to start looking through your change, checking those old coin jars, and educating yourself about what to look for, because the fortune you've been dreaming about might literally be sitting in your pocket, waiting for you to discover it. This is the incredible world of numismatics, where history, artistry, and economics collide to create opportunities that can change lives. And the 1981 D Roosevelt Dime, worth $63 million, is proof that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest value. Thank you so much for watching Old Glory Coins. If you enjoyed this deep dive into these incredible Roosevelt dimes, make sure to subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and drop a comment below telling us if you've started checking your coins yet, because your treasure hunt starts right now, and who knows? Maybe you'll be the next person to discover one of these legendary coins and change your life forever.